Thank you. Welcome to the Black Critique. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. Today, I'm going to discuss, there's been a lot of crazy things going on for the past week or two. I'm going to really focus on, I've been trying to do a video, something similar to this, based upon what's been going on with FBA and ADOS and the assault that Tariq and his minions and his simple-minded goons did on Twitter the other day. And if you saw my video last day, I pretty much got like the back end of it. I wasn't there when it all happened and everything exploded. I'm kind of catching up to see what happened. So basically, I always wanted to address the misnomers, the lies, the misconceptions that Tariq and that mix up all these things about immigrants, and he does this thing with a broad brush. Now remember, Tariq never did this. This is just he's a grifter. It's just a money grab scheme, whatever, for him to get likes, for him to get recognized. Because if we go back 3-4 years earlier, it was melanoid this, all black people that. He did Hidden Colors, and he paid respect and homage to those people. Now the new scheme is, okay, let me shit on those same people that I give homage and respect, and it's not one black family, it's just an American family now. So, he's pretty much, he's either an agent or, he's more concentrated on the bag, or maybe it's both, right? So either way, he's definitely not an honorable person. He's not a person with integrity or anything like that. So the other day, Brandon on Pan-Africanism Strikes Back. That's a good channel. Check that out. He had, if you follow me, you know about him and things like that. And he had a very good discussion that we had about everything. His take on it was very good. I'm going to obviously critique that a little bit. Basically, you can see right here, it says Black Americans lead the example for other blacks globally on how to fight white supremacy, right? There is some truth to that, but not exactly, to the letter. There's a lot of things that's really not true about that. Why? Because yes, we're all under white supremacy, yes. But due to where we are, geography, politics, and things like that, things turned out different, right? So some for the good, some for the bad. And I'm basically going to just use history here as a guide, as we all should, to see whether when people say things about people, you understand why they're saying it, and go back to see, okay, what pushed them to say these things and why they're saying it. What's the agenda? So basically, I'm first going to say this is true. So basically, his premise was basically like during civil rights era and things like that. America, the whole world was looking at America and seeing what was happening. And in South Africa, apartheid was going on, and black people really didn't have any real independence. In the Caribbean, it was pretty much the same thing. There were colonies there and things like that, also owned by Europeans, the English, the French, the Spanish, so on and so forth, right? But I wouldn't say they were looking to them for an example, because the dynamic is different. Now, when we're talking about that, you're talking about countries, right, that are mostly black countries, right? When I say mostly black countries, as far as the population, the people that the day-to-day people mostly are black. So in the Caribbean, for instance, I'm going to focus on the Caribbean, for instance, right? Because that's where I'm from, right? For the Caribbean, for instance, it was a commonwealth, it was a colony and things like that. But it wasn't floods and scores of white people everywhere in government, in far as police and things like that. It wasn't like this huge influx. There was an influence, yes, but not a huge influx in comparison to America, where black people were basically just couldn't even be mayor. They couldn't even be a police chief or anything like that, right? So moving forward, the histories are going to be different, but we're going to do a little chronological order as far as what what he was trying to say. And I want to get into my other points here, right? So right here, as you can see, when the Caribbean countries, got their independence. Now, if the first one you see here is Haiti, 1804, right? So Haiti didn't wait for Black Americans or the slaves in America to do to okay, you know what are they doing in Jamestown, Virginia? What they're not waiting for that. All countries that practiced slavery of Africans, they had slave rebellions everywhere. There was always slave rebellions. No one has to tell you, a man, that you being enslaved is wrong. Well, this is supposed to be right here. I'm supposed to pick this cotton here, because the white man tell me that I'm supposed to pick it and just do that, and that's fine. Like, no one thought that. No Jamaican person was like, yeah, it was okay for me to cut this sugar cane bomba cloud. It's all right until somebody come tell me. Like, no, they know that I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm a man. I should have freedom just like you, right? So Haiti didn't wait for America. So that's 1804. It was more the other way around, right? That's one of the reasons why America stopped the slave trade, because one, they were having too many black people. The black people was about to outnumber the whites in those in those colonies in America, right? Plus, they didn't want wind or anything of what was going on in Haiti. So they try to keep that on the hush. They try to keep that on the low so the other slaves wouldn't know. So basically it was the other way around, just from its inception, about this notion, right? To the point where Haiti, you all know the whole story about Haiti, about Dirty Bookman and all of them. And then, they, destroyed all the French forces to the point where France couldn't get Haiti back. And Haiti was like their how should I put it? To France, that was like their golden hen. Haiti produced so much money for France to the point, once they lost Haiti, they had to say, oh, wow, our cash cow was gone. All they had was the Louisiana Purchase. So they had to end up selling that in order to make up for their loss and defeat of not having Haiti as a resource, as a resource, producing sugar, producing tobacco, and all those other rich resources that Haiti has, right? So in that inception, is the other way around, and each country was doing their own thing. So you see here, you have Haiti, right? And as far as like places, like you can notice like a similarity. You're going to see in Jamaica got their independence in 1962. Trinidad also got their independence in 1962. Guyana got their independence in 1966, as well as Barbados. Then other places, they had it a little bit later, and they soon follow suit. And you can see that most of those countries are English colonies, right? So it kind of fell like dominoes from that point on, right? So so we weren't waiting for Americans to do that. And if that's the case, why was ours successful and the Black American weren't successful as far as like civil rights? When you do a comparison like that, and around this time, you got these West Indian countries that got our independence, and we're looking at Black Americans getting sucked in by dogs and all these other things. And it was just horrible, and we're like, wow. But to prove my point that no one is sitting around waiting for, what the Black Americans doing. So, okay, let's go do that. They do this, let's do that. Like, okay, like boycotting what? We own everything here in our country. We own everything here. All the stores and the shops mostly are by Black people. So why we're boycotting the next man? You see how that makes no sense. So I'm just saying that to say that you can't no one used America as a yardstick, right? And even after we got our independence and things like that, we had our control of our own government. We had our first presidents. We had our first governors. Our police force was black. Then eventually we had a military. All our military is black. We did everything that the Americans wanted to do and did, and we did more, but we got more tangibles because of what we have was real freedom is what black Americans were trying to do. Black Americans never, ever had real freedom or independence from its government. It never had. So this narrative that FBA tried to draw that, hey, look, that's a different subject, that, hey, you failed and all this other stuff. That's why you came here. It's like, how did we fail if we're not in our country? We're not getting shot for being black. We're not being discriminated from homes, from buying homes. It's a black country, and we're in control of our own destiny. Now, you could say, well, hey, those countries aren't doing so great. Hey, they're doing this. There's corruption there. Yes, I'll give you that. Each country is different, but at least we have something in order to corrupt. At least we have something that we have to protect. We're at step 3, right? And you guys are you can't even get past go. And you're pointing at other people. It's like you're taking a bus, right? And you have to take the bus because of whatever situation that you're in, if it's your fault or not. And you getting mad at the next man driving a car with a donut with the windshield bashed out. Yeah, I got a donut on my car and the windshield's bashed out, but at least I got a car. So how you laughing at me with my car when you went in on the bus? Like it's very ass backwards. It makes no sense. And that's why I think some of this comes from a place of ignorance, and it also comes from a place, I feel, comes from a place of jealousy. Because how can a person be a failure in their country while in your country, you can't even, you have to worry about, oh, well, I can't do this because I'm black, because of white supremacy. There's no white supremacy there like that at all. So what are you talking about? How am I a failure? And when I come here, I got to go back 40, 50 years in time, like I'm still being colonized when I come to America because of the racism that's there and the extra hurdles that we have. So with that said, it really doesn't make any sense. So one other point that I also want to put, that even though we have a government, and when I was on there on the channel that time, they try and say, oh, it's not an all black government. It's not an all black government. What's the brother's name? Naknesia. Oh, you trying to make things like an all black government. You got and this goes for most black Caribbean islands. Oh, you got Indians there. You got Chinese there. Chinese are everywhere. You got Chinese there, and da da da. Oh, you guys got no power. I'm like, excuse me, how we have no power? Chinese are not taking over Guyana, Jamaica, Trinidad, and whatever. They are part of the of the country, right? The East Indians are not taking over every island like Guyana and stuff like that. Right now, currently in Guyana, the East Indians now have power. If any Guyanese person, they know that the last president was a black president. And that black president succeeded due to elections and the violence that was going on in Guyana and things like that. And they wanted to do a recount of the election and stuff like that. And there was a lot of turmoil. I didn't think he should have succeeded and say, okay, just give it to him. I think he should have fought. But my point saying that each island is different is that at least we have black representation. We have somebody who could fight for us. Who does Americans, what does FBA have? What person do they have that's going to fight them? What political person in the limelight right now that's fighting for them? You're just going to hear crickets. You're just going to hear explaining. That's all you're going to hear. Again, you hating the next man because of what he has, right? Even though it's not as polished and stuff as he wants to be, it's a work in progress. Why you haven't done nothing at all from the grassroots to get someone to represent you. It makes no sense, and that's why I come to the conclusion it's just basically you just being a hater. Is all that you're being is just a hater. So it's really sad. It's really, really, really sad. It really is sad. It's like the governments that we have here, right? It may be mixed populations. So let's take Trinidad and Guyana, for instance, right? There may be there's a power struggle with the most dominant people there. So it'll be the blacks and the East Indians that got there much, much later, right? So it's not a systematic oppression. It's a power struggle. Black people in America don't even have a power struggle. What's happening to them, they don't even have the right representation to represent them wholeheartedly as a whole. You don't have a black president. You never had a real black president. Obama's not a real black president. He was raised, he's a African, half African, and he was raised by white people, and he went to Chicago, and that's where he kind of got quote unquote black. And I even heard like Michelle Obama was the first black woman he ever dated, so he doesn't have, and he did not represent black people at all. Every time it came an opportunity and a chance for him to represent black people, he always took the easy way out. Even when he gives a little bit of criticism about the cop that arrested Henry Louis Gates Jr. for him breaking into his own house. And, Obama didn't say this. I don't think he said it publicly, but someone heard him say, oh, the cop's an idiot. The man said he lives there. You could go, he knows where everything is. You can show you pictures. You can show you ID once he gets in the house and things like that. And it was like, Obama called that cop an idiot. He hates our cops. He hates our cops. He's un-American. He hates our cops. What did Obama do? Went, apologized. Oh, I'm so sorry. Even had the cop come to the White House to shake his hand. This is the shit. This is the things that you have as your quote unquote black representation. In those countries, there's nobody systematically doing things like that to black people. That was the perfect time for Obama to talk about police brutality. Obama didn't do that. He went to go kiss the dominant society's ass, right? That's what he's for, right? So you cannot compare Guyana or Jamaica to America. There's no equivalency there. There's no government doing things maliciously to disenfranchise the black population without the black population. No, why? Because the black population are in government. They're in business. They're in every aspect of life. They're in every facet of life because that's their country. So to say the East Indians they got power, so you can't say it's a black country like Knockneasy was doing, is just plain ignorant. It's just basically, again, you taking the bus and you mad at me because I'm driving a car and you want to pick out all the imperfections of my car, but your ass is still on the goddamn bus, right? I want to talk about that I don't have a reliable modes of transportation while your ass is on the bus. It really makes no sense, right? Black Americans at least need to get to that point where they have real representation and there's a power struggle. It's like this tug of war, right? And you guys got no people pulling on the other side of the rope, right? So it's a very stupid argument to say. So my whole point of the video is where we are right now, right? So when you listen to Tariq, he always says a whole bunch of lies that just blows my mind, and that's why I feel that most people that represent him and speak on his behalf and go FBA this, FBA that, and all that, I just feel that these aren't intelligent people. These are not smart people, right? And the thing about it is expose how ignorant they know about their own history. They don't know even who they are. I'm like, so how the hell are you gonna say you never ran away from white supremacy, right? Like, we always fought tooth and nail. That's what he said. That's a quote that he said one time on a podcast. I'm like, wait. So what you're telling me, right? Because they're not African, right? So for some reason, so doing the same coon niggerish thing, they don't want to be African. So that's already a red flag right there. Black people that want to be African, that's going way back to the plantation. Say, so you never ran away from white supremacy, and you fought white supremacy tooth and nail. Now, I told you before, yes, all black people during slavery they had slave rebellions. Not all of us fought. Some of us fought. The warriors fought, right? But you didn't fight every fight. That's stupid. And even if you fought every fight, look where you are right now. We're still being slaughtered in the streets. We still have no representation. We're still getting discriminated at the job when it comes to housing, when it comes to finances. We're still getting discriminated against. So what are you talking about? That you fought every fight tooth and nail. That's not true. Like, the plantation was like, I always said this. I said, a nigga is nothing but a broken African. And there's a lot of niggas around. Even Malcolm X said that. You know what I'm saying? Well, not that quote, he had a different version of it. You know what I'm saying? Talking about Uncle Toms and things like that. We still got some niggas running around here, right? He has this mystical superhero type ideology of what a black American is without the Africanness, right? That they just did everything right. They did everything correct. America's job was to make niggas, and they were mostly successful at that. Even Tariq say, "Oh yeah, nigga, the other day, Crenshaw this, yeah, nigga, I was on vacation, nigga, and on all this other stuff like that." So just by the man's very words, saying his words betrays him, so. You fought tooth and nail. No, you didn't fight tooth and nail. Sometimes you had to haul ass because the odds are against you. You hauled ass, right? And it's okay to haul ass because the white man is a whole bunch of white people. They have a particular system there that they have in place, right? And due to certain circumstances of you fighting and not fighting, that, hey, you're in the predicament that you're in. But being raped all the time, castration, being hung and then burnt at the stake, breeding farms, all these other things, saying y'all like mass shades lighter than some Africans, saying, like, if you do a DNA test, a lot of black Americans have a high percentage of European. How are you successfully fighting tooth and nail and you actually got raped? Like, you see, when you start adding this shit up, it doesn't make any sense. How you fighting tooth and nail? We always fought tooth and nail, not them immigrants. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you got raped, right? There was raping involved, not as much so in Africa. They also had some in the Caribbean. I mean, me personally, myself, I'm 1%. I'm 98% African, and I'm 1% Native American and 1% Irish. Black Americans be having like 20-30% and higher of Europeans. So yeah, so if you should compare my DNA, if my DNA is the standard of the Caribbean and stuff like that, I'm pretty say we fought more tooth and nail than your ass did. So the shit just don't add up. Fought tooth and nail, and we're still getting slaughtered and murdered in the street. You know what I'm saying? We're still paying, our neighborhoods are still bad. We fought tooth and nail, white supremacy, tooth and nail, but we can't own anything, right? We can't, most of our neighborhoods is flooded with other people, right? But hey, you go to a black neighborhood, a black American neighborhood, but y'all fought tooth and nail. It sounds so ridiculous, and it's a joke. It's like he's doing black people a disservice giving this illusion where you're fighting, where you're not really fighting. Oh yeah, y'all fighting. No, you're not fighting. You know what I'm saying? You in the audience thinking it's a show. You're not fighting anything. You never you fought. So after the Civil War, right? Just right after the Civil War, black people established the Democratic Party then, during the Civil War, appointed a lot of black people within the government, a lot of black people within the military, right? So during Reconstruction and they're trying to get the nation back together again and things like that, those same Democrats, right, back then was like, hey, look, you gotta go. And they're like, why? Because the Confederacy, the Republicans then, was like, I'm not being sitting next to no niggers. You know what I'm saying? If you want to get the country back together, right, and you come back to the Union, yeah, you guys won, and things like that, you got to get rid of these niggas here, right? So that's the Republican Party back then was like, no. So the Democratic Party back then was like, yeah, you black guys got to go. Sorry. So black people had towns. They were trying to establish themselves. They were, once again, didn't really have any rights and stuff like that. We were just pretty much 13th Amendment type of people. So like I really didn't have any real rights that was enforced, by the state. So basically what we do, you see right here, we went to as far during slavery, we went as far as the Canada. The Underground Railroad went as far as Canada. So when Tariq says we never ran for white supremacy, you ran from the South, right, through the North, right? Some of the Underground Railroad stopped in the North. A lot of people just stopped in the North because at that particular time, because even the North had slaves, but at this particular time, the North didn't have any need for chattel slavery. Right, they were more like the stock market, and the South was like the blue collar area where they pretty much got the goods. Right, so the North at that time didn't need any slaves per se. Right, so some of y'all ran from the South and went to the North to other good white peoples, and some of y'all said, I ain't messing with any of these Americans. I'm gonna mess with the French and go to Canada. You ran. You hauled ass and you ran. You didn't stay there and fight white supremacy tooth and nail. No, you didn't. You ran as you should run. Because if the odds are stacked against you, yes, the smart thing to do would be to run. You know what I'm saying? Your life and your existence is more important than you trying to. I mean, like I said, I don't know why I'm comparing, our ancestors back then to freaking Tariq, because Tariq is a goddamn moron, right? So you're going to run, right? And you ran, right? Even to the point where you can see right here, and this is the Great Migration. The Great Migration happened from 1916 to 1970s, right? So that's why that's why you have black people in California, black people in Texas and all that. And most of those people came from the South, right? You have black people that went to Florida. And remember, I'll do a documentary on that. Florida was mostly was colonized modernly, right? As far as like the infrastructure was built by black people in the Caribbean. I believe it was Barbados. The people from Barbados, I could be wrong, but I think it's people from Barbados, from the Caribbean, other Caribbean people really built the bones of Florida, but that's a different subject. But where you can see where they all migrated. So again, you have about 100 or so years of running. Yeah, 100 or so years of running. So who are you to say that other people are running from their country, right? And because they failed and all these other things, when you're failing here, it like the level of failure is different. It's like you're like 4 and oh, and where we're from is kind of like we're like 2 and 6. You know what I'm saying? We got something on the scoreboard here. Like you guys just playing to survive. Like it doesn't make any sense. You know, so when they say they never ran for white supremacy, it makes that makes no sense. We have proof, we have evidence, we have history that you ran. Fine, run to fight another day. But you ran, you know, and you ran to the cities and things like that to for jobs, to get better opportunities and things like that. And yes, do that. No one's gonna, you know, chastise you or belittle you for that and stuff like that. But the thing about it is you went to the north and you ran. And me living in the south and lived in the south, like it's different. It's different. Like I never got called, a white person never called me a nigga to my face until I went to the South when I was living in Virginia one time. Right? It never happened. Now, first thing you go down south, you go to Virginia, you go past that Mason-Dixon line, and you're like, what the hell's all these goddamn Confederate flags? I'm like, I'm looking at the black people here like, y'all ain't saying nothing about this shit. Like, what the hell? But they grew up with that. To them, that's just normal. That's like the sun rising every day and bees buzzing around flowers. But me, you know, coming from the north and things like that, knowing what that flag is, what that flag represents, it was always unsettling. And the demeanor of the people, the black people in the South, is more like, and I understand it to an extent. It's like, hey, look, I'd rather let them know me who they are instead of pretend. Because they had some dude, he said he'd been to the North and they got some racist white people in the North, but they gotta pretend. He said, hey, I'd rather deal with the white people down here that, you know, that let me know who they are than pretend. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. But at the same time, right, that flag is a slap in your face. That flag is basically saying, hey, look, I wanted to be like it is back in the day. What that flag is saying, hey, look, when that sun comes down, it's your ass. That sign says, nigga, I wish you would. Around, let the circumstances be good. That flag is a constant threat. That flag is a flag of war to black Americans. That flag means war. And when you see that flag and you're just complacent about it and you just shrug it off like, hey, okay, that's how he feels, that's not a warrior spirit. That's not fighting tooth and nail. We never ran and all that. And I found that to be very troubling. And to the point where when the white dude, so this is a story. So my wife was pregnant and things like that. And I was driving. I'm in Virginia. I'm driving not too far from this place that sell RVs. And they got a big Confederate flag right there selling RVs. Right. And I'm driving and I changed lane. And I heard his horn honking and stuff like that. And I'm changing lanes. I didn't see the guy. It was some white dude, Hell's Angel looking dude on a motorcycle, whatever. And my wife was like, oh my God, you know, you almost hit the guy. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't see him. So he rides alongside of me. You know, he's speeding up right alongside of me on the passenger side where my pregnant wife is. So I'm about to whine he's beefing, he's mad, I get it, you know, stuff like that. So I was like, I was going to apologize. And I was like, you know, I'm about to say, oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. So I wound the window down and say, hey man, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. And he's just screaming, cursing. He got a beard, he's spitting all on his beard and all this other stuff. And my wife was like, oh my God. I was like, oh, whoa, he's talking shit. I was like, what, he's talking shit? So I was younger then, so I was off the hook. Right. And I was chasing the dude down with my car. I was about to hit him with my car. I'm like, yo, you a bitch, you a pussy, you talking shit. I said, pull over. Why was like, what's wrong with you? You crazy? Like, I'm pregnant here. He's like, oh, he could have something on. I was like, if he has something, he better pull it out real quick, because I got something for him too. I blacked out. I wasn't even listening to my wife. I drove up fast, pulled over, right, on the side of the road, because I drove ahead of him, got out the car, saw his bike, like, yo, what's up? What's up? What's going? He just rode past me. I ran back in my car, drove, peeled off, went next to like, yeah, you a bitch, you a pussy, you better stay on that fucking bike. You better stay on that fucking bike. And then I was kept fighting. Yo, I wanted to run him over with my car so bad. And then he turned off because I stayed on the road, and he just turned off, went away from me. Wife was like, what's wrong with you? You're crazy. I'm pregnant here. Like, what the hell? What the hell? She's like, I know he called you a nigga and everything. And this. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, he called you a nigga and da. I was like, I didn't hear him. I thought he was just talking regular shit. She was like, nah, he called you. That's why I was like, oh my God. That's why I said, oh my God, I can't believe what he said. I'm like, yo, thank God I didn't hear that, because it would have been on. I probably would have ran him over with my car. But I ain't a native from the South. But according to Tariq and a bunch of failed bitch ass niggas, aka FBA, because I'm from another country, I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm so sorry, white man. I'm so sorry. Oh, yes, I'm a bitch ass nigga. I am sorry. Nah, not built like that. Not built. Y'all niggas down here is built like that. That y'all are very passive to the point where this white dude think he could just call me a nigga and it's okay. Yo, today's Tuesday. Yo, well, a nigger there. Okay, I'll let that nigger know. Don't cut me off. Like, it's just like he was comfortable with it. He was kind of like, yo, what's wrong with this nigga here? He must have been like, what's wrong with this nigga over here? I just called him a nigga, and like he needs to just know his place. I'm like, nah, how y'all live down here and just got white people calling y'all niggas? That shit is crazy. But hey, I guess some of y'all couldn't take it, and y'all went to other nicer white people. That's why you migrated. You went to the north. Now he said I think one time he said, well, it's still America. It's still America. Yeah, but your ass went to other place in America that was better white people, where white people treated you better, where you have more opportunity. You ran. Just because if that's like when back in the day and you get in trouble and your mom and your mother whipping your ass and stuff like that, and you start running, she start whipping your behind in the room, don't mean she ain't gonna chase you if you run into the kitchen. Don't mean she gonna chase you if you run into the garage. She's still chasing you. You still in the house. She's still gonna beat that ass. So you say, hey, I left there and I went somewhere else. I'm still in my house. Yeah, that's why you're still getting discriminated against. That's why your ass still getting beat. Like, it's a retarded talking point. It's absolutely. That's why I am convinced that the people that follow Tariq and call themselves disrespectful, call themselves FBA, aren't the smartest people in the world, or they have to put up this facade that they're these perfect people, that they're the model black people to follow. And no, it's not. Just like how you're flawed and have issues, other black people also have flaws and they have issues, right? It's stupid to have a pissing contest to see like, oh, who has less problems, who have more problems. So whoever has more problems, that means we're better. It's a stupid argument, and this makes me think that Tariq is just an agent, because anybody that wants division among black people is not for black people. It's very simple. Oh shit. I'm going to get dinged for this one, but the truth kind of hurts. Yeah, so the reason why some immigrants do better is because some of us simply get the jobs that are available given to us by the dominant society, right? So it says, yes, the reason why black immigrants do better is because we do jobs that you think you too good for. Then get mad at my paper with your broke ass, right? What this is simply saying is that a lot of people, I know people that were like doctors, nurses, people in law enforcement. They had like real good professions, back in their country. But being in America now, they don't really recognize that. So you're gonna probably, if you want to get certified officially, quote unquote, officially in America, you're gonna have to go to school to get that certification. So what we have to do, we have to put our pride on the back seat, right? And start from scratch. We have to pretty much take the jobs that are available, or is mostly the jobs that most people don't want to do. So that's like being a maid, being a nanny, doing a whole bunch of other things that a lot of people won't do. And this goes for white people too, across the board. A lot of jobs, white Americans and Americans as a whole, they just feel that I ain't doing that, whatever. So you need a labor force that would do that. And it's usually immigrants that would do that job. Like I heard a while back, most likely must have been around the Trump era, where he was going hard as usually on immigration and things like that. So there's this town, I think it's some town that bordered Mexico. They got this company. They usually hire day laborers to do the harvest, right? So since with all these new border restrictions that they have, a lot of the crop went bad because he couldn't get enough day laborers to do it. So usually what the Mexicans would do during the season of harvest, they'll say, hey, we're going to make some quick money over there, go like 102 miles across the border or even 50 miles across the border into the States, do that harvesting job, whatever, make my money, go back. But since of the strict rules and things like that, they were not letting people in, his crop was going bad. And it was to the point where he was like, okay. I can't get any migrant laborers. So, all right, let's hire our own people. So there's the people that owned like the I think it was like oranges or whatever crop it was. He was like, all right, let me raise the pay rate and give certain incentives like healthcare, yada 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 yada. Right? Did that, put in posts all over the place and things like that. He still couldn't get enough people to do a complete harvest. And it's like, what? You know what I'm saying? So America has always depended on immigrants to come in, do a job, and sometimes after they do that job, they thrive. They use that job as a stepping stone. They just don't plateau on that particular stepping stone. So, okay, this is where I'm going to be, I guess, for the rest of my life. No, they do that to do better, right? So my story specifically is that, again, most people come to America, whatever, why? It's just a money grab. It's just basically to make more money. Now, I was like middle upper class, and my parents were cops, had 3 houses and everything like that. Because I asked my mom, I was like, why the hell you came to America if we got all this going on back in our country? And she was like, hey, someone came back, said they made all this money. So we like, okay, we're doing good here. Hey, what we got to lose? We always come back, right? So that was the mindset. So everybody knows once you get here is a freaking different story. Some people stay, some people like, hey, it's bullshit, don't go there. Some people like it and they stay and they make a living. Some people don't like it, they make their money and they go back. Or some people don't even come back at all. It's like, I ain't going back to America, hell no. They stay where they are because it's better, right? So what we had to do is a lot of domesticated work. Now, I understand why some Black Americans, due to their history, won't do certain things. But once again, sometimes we have to do things, put our pride aside, right? When you go somewhere and the chips are down and you got bills to pay and things like that, and it's like, shit, I guess I gotta work at Walmart. Damn. I guess I gotta work at ShopRite. You need to do that. You get that job because you got bills to pay. You got a roof you gotta keep over your head, and you got kids to feed, right? So you have to swallow your pride and do domesticated work. See right here in New York that a lot of is in the downtown areas and the rich places where all the white people's and stuff like that, you always see black nannies around, right? And there's always either someone from Africa or someone from the Caribbean, always doing these jobs, right? So you have citydata.com, basically like a little blog here. You can see what they wrote, you know, and they noticed it. They noticed these things, you know what I'm saying? They said, they realized it and all this other stuff, you know. So you have that there. You can see what I googled there, right? See, you're seeing a lot of this stuff, right? This article right here is basically about successful black woman and stuff like that. She needed a nanny and all that, and she saw like it's nothing but black people and stuff like that. This one right here, right? He said black women pushing white babies. Cannon full of series exposed the deep racial divide among New York nannies and their young wards, right? So, yeah, if you're in New York, especially if you're downtown Brooklyn, downtown Manhattan, and places like that, you see this. It's like it's so commonplace to see that. You know what I'm saying? The life of New York City nanny. 28, moved to America from South Africa. She takes the child she cares for one of in the park, Manhattan, Upper West Side, almost every day that the weather is nice. You have another woman here, on Broadway and 82nd Street, yada, yada, yada. You see that there. So you can see it's a lot of black people, and you see some Hispanic people and things like that. But it's mostly a lot of Caribbean and black and Africans that are taking care of these children, right? And they're doing that usually, as a stepping stone up. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what's forgive me for using the wrong word. I don't know what's the allure, if there's an allure in hiring the black nanny and whatever and stuff like that. I don't get that, but why, not white nannies and stuff like that. So maybe they give them cheaper wages. Who knows? It could be a plethora of reasons why they're doing that. But people do see this common denominator, and you have to ask a lot of questions. So I'm not going to read every instance. I'm just giving you a real quick look at the article right here. You have a woman right here. That's her son. And, she's with her son while she's taking care of, the other white kids over there, too, because that's her job or whatever, right? And same thing here. You see a lot of that. There's usually a lot of young women and things like that, right? And then here you have a rare picture of a white nanny. So they're pretty much caregivers. There's a lot of people that do caregiving for elderly people. And there's people that do caregiving for young people. So just to show you, trying to show and prove what I say, as I always try to do. I do understand the mindset of certain black Americans that don't want to do certain work and things like that because of its past and its negative connotations that it may have, right? So you have not black Americans, you have other people come in and they fulfill that space, right? That they do it. So I can understand where you have some black Americans be like, hey, that black person's doing that. Who are they? It's like, oh, they're Nigerian. Oh, they're Ghanaian. Oh, they're Jamaican or whatever. Like, why would they do something like that? Like, so, the black Americans aren't really experiencing what's really going on. I'm not saying that the nannies aren't being treated fairly or unfairly. I mean, no one really know. I'm pretty sure if you explore it, there's going to have people that have good experiences. There's going to have people going to have bad experiences, right? I'm not going to really speak on that too much, because I really don't know. But I mean, a job's a job. A white person is giving you a job. A white person can be racist towards you if you're working at the hospital. The head nurse could be some white woman that's treating a black woman bad. So pretty much that's how it is. Like my mother used to say, you have to know who's holding, when you're holding a knife, who's holding the handle, who's holding the blade. If you're too stupid to know you're holding the blade, you want to keep jerking it. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much don't rock the boat type of analogy, right? Because you have to know what your position is. My phone went off a little bit there. But yeah, like I was saying, I do understand the negative connotations and the history behind that, as far as like when you see black persons doing domesticated work for an affluent or well-to-do white family and things like that. That goes on in the back of your head. But like I said, black Americans, even after slavery was even over, they kept doing that. You got the movie The Help, and I'm pretty sure and I've seen that there's actually black people that do domesticated work, even during the civil rights and things like that. They were doing that. Again, we understand the position that we're in, but those brave men and women did that because, hey, look, this is horrible, but it's more important to me to feed my family. Me feeding my family is more important than my pride, right? So when you got FBA people saying like, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing that job, that job," okay, that means you're selling out. Okay, your people sold out too by that same analogy, by that same standard. Your people sold out too. You know what I'm saying? But it has nothing to do with selling out. Only an immature mind would think something like that, right? So, we have this woman here. She's an actress and things like that. But, yeah, she played a stereotypical role. I forgot the name of the documentary. I don't want to give you the wrong documentary. But I saw it on Amazon. It was basically talking about in the beginning of film, a lot of black people were in movies. They were very stereotypical positions. There were very stereotypical parts that they had to play, and you had a lot of famous comedians and actors and actresses that was on that documentary was saying, "Well, hey, I don't care. It was work. It is not having my people in a positive light, but at least they see us up there." Right? At least to see a black person up there, and that black person was working. And I'm like, I get it. I mean, I not even going to even try to pretend to even know what that feels like or whatever. I'm not even going to even say, you know what I'm saying? But, everyone has their own opinion. For us, like, I wouldn't have did it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's that comedian's name? Old school comedian. His name is Red. He used to come on Comic View on BET. They had him on there saying that. Talking about Amos and Andy, talking about the sister here from Going with the Wind, and all these other parts that black people were playing. But some people were like, yeah, it's an opportunity, but it's a negative opportunity that keeps us in a negative light. It goes back to the whole mammy type stereotypical role that they think that black women have during the plantation, during slavery. The whole mammy, the happy slave narrative that they some racists like to say, "Oh, slavery wasn't that bad. Look, our slavery was happy. It was part of the family like the dog." Saying shit like that. So I do understand, but at the same time, for those of you that aren't really learned in history, even your own goddamn history, that yeah, your people did that too, and so does other people did that. So for black people to shame another black person for doing domesticated work, right? Especially if your ass got no job and you ain't doing shit, right? And they gonna seize the job to get an opportunity, right? You can't be mad because because at the end of the day, guess what? They're able to feed their families. They're able to stack some money, right? They got like 2-3 people. They got like 2 or 3, 4 people working. Everybody working in the family, doing shifts and stuff like that, living under one roof, right? Everyone's stacking their money, so we can get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know how you can hate on the other person's on a black person like you. So it's not like someone's using race. You can't even say race is the factor. And I think that's why a lot of black Americans that feel that way got a bug in their ass about it, because they can't say, oh, it's because you black. They can't. I'm black like you. You know what I'm saying? And I did it. You know what I'm saying? And white supremacy doesn't work like, oh, okay, I don't like niggas, but I like certain niggas from certain places. So I like black people from the South less, and I like the Northerners better. I don't like niggas from the Midwest, but I don't mind niggas from the West Coast. Don't like niggas from Jamaica, but I don't mind a nigga from Nigeria. Like, that's not how it should work. That's not how it works. And you're deluded and you're an idiot. And again, proving my point that you don't understand how white supremacy works if you're saying that, right? Because they're going to use you if you're American, if you're African, if you're from the Caribbean. They will use whatever, because white supremacy is a tool. It's a tool that they use so they can get a disadvantage. And if they're going to use you, right, a tool, they're going to use a tool no matter where it comes from. What's the purpose of a tool, right? To perform a certain task, right? No one cares what color the tool is. No one cares about how the tool looks like, as long as the tool does its job. And once the tool does its job, mission accomplished. So it all has to do with the mindset. But for failed bitch ass Americans, right, they're gonna have to start thinking, right? Because they got to go further than just the outward appearance. Because that's easy to say, okay, where you from? Where you from? Okay, if they don't say FBA, or I was raised in Louisiana or the hills of Georgia, then you're not us. Like, life and people are way more dynamic and complicated than that, right? Because then if you were to say, like, okay, let me see what this person's about, like how it's always been, no matter where they're from, you judge a person basically about what their mindset is. But that's going to take a lot of brain power that they just simply don't have. So that's these are the 2 points that I have about FBA and the lies that they tell. It's just totally, anyone was to sit down and just think like, does this really add up? Does this really add up? It doesn't add up, especially if you're a learned person that has at least a high school diploma. I would think you will know that this is bullshit. What they're saying is bullshit. They got some good points, right? But it's mixed in with some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? So, like, they would say things like, I'm gonna go off some points. They always be like, okay, in America, and I always said this. They always say you're a failure, at your country, and things like that, right? And going back to my first point, where Brandon was on some like, hey, we set the example, and da 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 da. Most of black nations, they have their own economy. We all know black America don't have their own economy. We know together, and Dr. Claude Anderson says, yes, black Americans have a network spending of a couple $1 billion, right? But it's not aggregated. It's not together. You don't put it together in your community. So we all know about, hey, look, the Chinese dollar bounces probably like 3 or 4 times before it leaves the Chinese neighborhood and it goes into a white pocket or Arab pocket or Hispanic pocket, right? And so on and so forth, but black dollars rarely bounce once, right? So that's the problem we have. So my question is, like, in black nations, our dollar bounces probably dozens of times before it goes into a non-black pocket, right? Because what goods we have. So you go in certain Caribbean places, they have tourism. They'll sell like bananas, sugar, natural goods that they have, right? And they'll sell that, and they have their own market. They even have their own money. Right now, we're getting all happy because of unfortunately Maya Angelou. They could have picked so many other black American women besides freaking Maya Angelou. Anyway, that's another topic. On your money, but it's still not your money. You know what I'm saying? That's just symbolism. You don't have any money. What money do you have that's connected to your goods that you produce or services that you have? You have none, right? But, you know, other black people fail in their country, right? So another thing I always used to say, like, you have the UN. Everyone knows what the UN is. You got different countries from different nations that represents, their nation and things like that for any concerns that they want the world stage to know, right? Who is the United States ambassador? Is it a black guy? Is it a black person concerned about black people's issues? No, it's a white guy. It's a white guy. So you don't even have representation there. So even if you have someone as a Ghanaian here, right? Let's say for some reason, God forbid, this FBA nonsense goes to the next level of Hitler, because Tariq is nothing but a Hitler now. Saying trying to dehumanize black people, and it gets to a point where FBA commits a crime against another black person from another black nation. You just go to our UN representative and say, "Hey, look, America, what are you doing? You got people mistreating my people," right? And that's a representative there. Black Americans don't have that. Another point is that it seems to me that, because remember, FBA now, Tariq moved to, first it's like, yeah, we're African. Then it's like, no, we're not African. We've been here. He's a Moor now. His name is Tariq, so he's a drifter. So that's not his real name. So now he's a Moor from Turtle Island or Morocco. Depends which Moor you talk to. You're a Moor from Morocco, but you indigenous here. I don't know how that shit worked, but anyway, his whole thing is that they want reparations, whereas black Americans do deserve reparations, right? No problem with that, right? So you get everybody on board with that, but he's gonna. It's like if you look at my one of my first videos. Everyone remembers the Boondocks with Uncle Ruckus talk about don't trust them new niggas over there, leaving their nigga essence in the air. Those happy nappy head niggas with their fingers on the trigger. Yeah, that joint. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he wanted to keep the white man to himself because you got some new niggas coming over. Like, no. Remember me? We the original niggas. Like, don't pay them no mind. So it's like he has to degrade us, I guess, so to leave a bad taste in the white man's mouth, so he won't deal with us. He can just stick with the OG niggas, I guess. Because that's my conclusion. I think it's, because FBA, they want to thrive only under whites because FBA wants money from whites and just want to spend money with them because they can't beat them militarily, economically, or politically. Black Americans are not doing that. You're at war, but you can't beat them militarily, definitely not. You can't beat them economically, you can, but you're not like your forebears where he's like, you know what, we're gonna boycott. Hell no, you got niggas buying $600 Gucci belts. Like, our priorities is all fucked up, right? So we don't have the discipline to beat them economically. We also don't have the discipline to beat them politically, right? So it's like, okay, you burn all bridges, you cut all ties, with the diaspora and continental Africans. That's basically saying, I just want to be up under white people. Because you can't chew gum and walk at the same time. You can't ask for reparations as well as keeping those bridges, open. So to the free market, any success, like Jeff Bezos, let's say Jeff Bezos is racist. I don't know if he is or not, or he's a bigot. He don't like certain type of people. Jeff Bezos will not be the richest man in the world if he was like, fuck those Asians, fuck those Japs, fuck those niggas. No, it's money. You have to expand. Every business job is to maximize profit. Is to get profit, right? And it's called the global economy. So before the game is even played, you have already lost. If you're burning bridges and you're saying foul shit to groups of people, not individuals. You can say, hey, look, I don't like that guy, whatever, this I don't know, Persian guy, I don't like this Persian guy, I don't like this European guy, I don't like this French guy or this German asshole, whatever. If you do it on the individual level, but when you attack people, their whole culture, you saying it's the culture, it's not the individual. And Tariq does that all the time. So they're burning bridges so they could be up next under white people and keep white people all to themselves. All to themselves. It's like the Dave Chappelle skit when he's talking about reparations. And when I say that, then Negroes get mad at me. But when Dave Chappelle did it, oh, shit is hilarious. When you get your reparations, right, check, and Dave Chappelle did a skit where you got Ashley Larry, he buying a truckload of Newports. You got people buying Escalades and record labels and all this other shit, buying stocks and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yeah, the shit is funny, but you know what's the sad part is? There's a lot of truth to that. So basically, what Tariq is doing is trying to make Dave Chappelle's skit come true at this rate. There's no other way. There's no other way around it. There's simply no other way around it. You know, but again, according to my first point, black Americans is the standard and everybody follows black Americans and what black Americans do. Nah, I don't think so. So anyway, I'm going to bring it to a close right now and stuff like that. It's just that, you know, I'm wanting to do videos like this for a while, fight back. But, you know, us being passive and taking a high road, you know what I'm saying, say they'll go away, you know, they're like at our front doors right now. That goes for continental Africans, Caribbean people, and real upstanding black Americans. You know, we're all fighting against this because, you know, they make all of us look bad, especially on the world stage. You know, FBA, ADOS, they make us look real bad. You know what I'm saying, at this point. So I'm going to end it right here. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for staying with me. Please remember to like, share, and I'm always interested in hearing what you got to say. So you can put things in the comment section. And thank you.